My name is John Horgan. I'm the service manager for Men's High Support. I've been with Simon since 2017, where I started as a volunteer. I had a various kind of different careers. I had a career in finance for a good few years. So at the time I actually had put myself forward to volunteer with different organisations, and Simon was the one who came back to me fairly quickly, and I started to volunteer. Then I would have moved on to the relief panel as a housing support officer. Worked across various projects, and then I settled in Men's High Support in Knockgree. From there then I worked as a HSO, contracted for 2 years, and then I did a stint of acting up as service manager, and then when the opportunity arose then 3 years ago for service manager of Men's High Support, that's when I actually took up that role, and I've been there ever since. Immensely, yeah, immensely, and it's always evolving. We've kind of become a bit of a catch-all kind of a service, really. With Simon, you're forever looking for a solution to these problems, and that's the great thing about it. You know, never turn anybody away. We're always very open and embracing with people, and we work with those clients on a very kind of personal kind of level. You know, it's non-judgmental. You're meeting the client where they're at, and you're actually just listening to them. But it has evolved an awful lot. I mean, the major change that I would have seen, I mean, not to mention, I suppose, like the fact that it's gone from, at one stage I would have known everybody by the first name, just about 40 people employed, now to over 200 people. So that just shows you the demand that is there, and the way that Simon has kind of reached out to. It's gone over the county border. There's so much work in sustainability, so much work in the youth service, men's high support, women's high support. It's incredible. So yes, it has changed insofar as that we're now officially kind of trauma informed as a service. We're client centred. We work through the harm reduction model. I think the key word is community, you know, and I think it's a word that sometimes we don't use enough. And that goes for like clients and staff as well. There's great support, and I think what I've noticed, even from a staffing perspective, when people have gone through kind of difficult periods in their own lives, you know, it's your colleagues step in there. You know, there's great support like that. It's a wonderful organisation to work for. You know, it's very personable. It's good fun. You know, and I'm not just saying this for the camera kind of thing, but it actually is good crack. There's not just strict hierarchical kind of management structure whereby everyone's accountable to someone else. It's a community effort. You know, because without that collaborative community approach, it's very difficult to solve these problems, which are quite nuanced. You know. We don't have like a solution for everything. However, what we do have is, I suppose, the integrity and the energy and the zest to try and find that solution. A lot of stuff is kind of not, you're not going to read in a book kind of thing, you know. But that's the beauty of it. And like, there's trial and error. Sometimes it doesn't work. However, you're given, I suppose, the confidence and the trust to go and try these things, because every other kind of system that certain clients have been through, it hasn't worked, you know. Hence the reason they probably have ended up with someone like me, kind of a thing, because, you know, and it's just by respecting the person, being empathetic and listening to them, you know. And that's the beauty of Simon. I think that's the difference, really. You know, it's very creative. It's willing to give things a go. There's a lot of thinking outside of the box. It's challenging, yeah, I'm not going to say it's not, but it's extremely rewarding. I'd ask anyone to give me an example of a job that isn't challenging from time to time, you know, and that's just the reality of it. The impression that you may have of homeless services and what you see it will open your eyes, it'll be completely different. I found that experience myself, and actually anybody who volunteers or anybody's on student placement, you would have a certain idea, but once you actually start working with it, that fear of it just goes, and it's just people. At the end of the day, it's people that, you know, that's all they are. But the work that Simon does, I think, is just very interesting, you know, and you can be part of a team, and a collaborative team, where you're given the opportunity to give your opinion, and you think, and it's very much respected. It's not a top-down approach, like it really isn't. It's very collaborative, and you work with really exciting people. You've got fantastic stories and stuff and experiences and stuff. You're going to learn and grow as a person as well, which is very important. An awful lot of stuff I would have picked up in Simon, you know, I can bring into my own personal life. It certainly has made me a better person and more appreciative of what actually I have. And there's a kind of like, there's a really positive attitude within Simon, to push that bit further, to find a solution. If not, then you've got an array of people to talk and discuss with, through supervision as well and what have you. There's great experience. I work with people who've been here for 20, 25 years, so if you even put all those years together, it's incredible. They have been through a similar experience and can offer great advice. And there's great support, especially for people who've just started and stuff like that, who might find it a bit overwhelming, but there's always someone there to help. I suppose, being honest, I probably can't see myself doing anything else than that, because it has everything for me anyway. It's a great place to work like that. I like who I work with. I love the clients, obviously. There's very little jobs that kind of give you that satisfaction where you can make a fundamental positive change or help someone along that way, and you get paid for it. Which is incredible. When I moved into I work for Simon, it's like, oh my God, jeez, like the respect that's given. To work for such an organisation is phenomenal. So it's great to be part of that. To be very proud and say, well, actually, I do work for Simon, and because it's always treated with such high respect. Because the work that they do, a lot of people won't do that work or can't do that work for various reasons. But it's that's extremely rewarding. And you could have people on the street, if you're shaking a bucket or if you're, getting into conversation with someone, and when you say you work for Galway Simon, it's the real kind of, my God, fair play to you. Massive. I suppose, and even a most recent project that was started, well, it's probably 2.5 years, around like sustainable or tenancy sustainability. So that's keeping people in the homes for which they've grown accustomed to. So Simon comes in and tries to negotiate with a landlord, or tries to help in some ways in order for them to be able to maintain or sustain their tenancy. Because we know firsthand the impact it actually will have on kids, especially. There's a lot of shame and stigma and what have you. People don't want to be associated with a home service, and I totally get that. But it's those little changes that you don't see. We don't advertise, and because that's all about trying to keep the dignity of that family as well, and discretion and their privacy. That kind of work that goes on that people aren't aware of, and it's also, and I always talk about this, is the fact of there's not only the direct support that you give to a client, but there's that indirect support that is given to families and friends, knowing that they're actually engaged in services. That it takes away that fear, that worry for families that their son is in a service, they're being checked on every day, they're going through medical appointments, they're fed, they're kept in a warm, secure, like that alone, that peace of mind is phenomenal, because I think families carry an awful lot of guilt around that. Why couldn't we fix that problem? And sometimes it's beyond the realm of families' best of intentions, but it can be just too complex. But at least there's a service like Galway Simon who do that day in, day out, and that peace of mind for families alone is massive. And like I say, a lot of it's prevention, like you're putting out the fire before it gets out of control, kind of a thing, and that's done very discreetly, as I would have said. It's done in a way that's very respectful to families involved, which overall is kind of unfortunate. We have to have these things, but it's great in one respect that people know that there is a place, there is refuge out there. You can't pick up the phone, there will be someone there. Let me think now. What I'd recommend for someone considering this line of work, go and get experience from different job roles. What I recommend is maybe do a bit of volunteering first and see if you like it, but it's a really brilliant career. It's very, very rewarding. It's challenging, but it's rewarding. But I'd say there's no job that's not challenging. Like a sense of achievement that no other job I think will give you. You get to work with great people, and you actually get to, be influential in creating a great change or positive change for someone who's on the margins, someone who feels vulnerable. Thankfully we don't have to analyse, but you can imagine just being on that wheel for years, and you might just be able to kind of make that little breakthrough. Bring a bit of light into the darkness, and inspire people to have a better life, better quality of life, and it's just those simple things. But as I say, it's extremely varied. You know, whether you're working in emergency and combination or men's high support, women's high support, youth service, it's fantastic. And the opportunities that are in Galway Sound are phenomenal. You know, you might try something for a while and think, actually, you know, it's not for me. Maybe I'm better equipped to work in this line. So, you know, the amount of people who've kind of swapped roles and stuff like that has been phenomenal. But also from a person's perspective, like the potential to grow in the organisation is massive, you know, and I can only vouch for myself on that. So from coming from volunteering in 2017 to now being a service manager is good. Like it is great. It's very, very rewarding, and I've enjoyed every bit of it. You know, I can't see myself, you know, doing anything else at the moment for sure. And it is very, very rewarding. You know.